Hello.
Hi, Danny.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks. You?
Yeah, I was good. I was checking out your tune just now. Like, Eric, sounds amazing, man.
Which one? The
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 the Jesus one.
Oh yeah?
Well, yeah, you sent it for tonight, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds brilliant. It's really good.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah?
It was the that was that the feedback?
Yeah, that's it. Release
All
it.
right.
No. But yeah, so thanks everybody. I guess most of you were or all of you potentially, but some of you were at the Rick Wade Masterclass on Tuesday. So thanks everyone for that. You know, it was a really good session. Felt like a good vibe and that. So I was really happy with how it went and everything. And yeah, so this tonight is obviously the rescheduled one from last Tuesday. Yeah, so basically what I want to do tonight is start off with a little bit of production stuff and then jump into the feedback. So I wanted to show you something that I've been working on for a long time. So no judgment. But essentially, I went to Devon Analog Studios, I think in 2000, maybe 17 or something like that. And I recorded some stuff. And then I went back again in 2018. So essentially, some of the stuff that I started on the first session, I continued with on the second session. So I'm just going to jump to Logic and I'm going to play you the kind of initial demo, which is pretty basic. Let me find the right one. I think it's this one. So yeah, this is all just hardware basically. Can you hear that? It's pretty basic. So I think that's the bass, which has been so badly recorded, and the strings, it's so, like now I'm like, fuck's sake, the strings sound like they're brand new. There's loads of fret buzz, you know, it's shit, you know, so I shouldn't have bothered with that, but that's a 303 Devilfish put through a CV sequencer, so all the clicking, and then some chords, I'm not sure what they're from. So you get the idea, and then there's a bit at the beginning that so this bit here is the Deckard's Dream, which was not available at that moment, and it's they're about like 10 grand or something. But Tristan got rid of it. He sent it back or something. He was just like, yeah, don't like it, it's shit. I think it was probably problematic. But anyway, I like it. I think that's such a cool, the little, that, that's what, you know, I've not heard that vibe from other synths. Anyway, so that's the sort of like demo, yeah? And then I did a bit more work on it, so I'm just gonna jump to another version. So if you give me a sec, I'm trying to find a later version of it. So hopefully that now is sharing on the right one. Trying to find, yeah, cool, got it. Trying to find my screens. So this is like a later version. So that's the intro, and then I basically, so what I did was, I think this must have been back there. I don't know if it's a Linn drum or something, but I put some more, you know, kick snare drums on it. So it's kind of a bit more advanced feeling. And then, so I recorded some kind of more Italo-y sort of vibes. I guess it's a Juno. It says Juno audio capture. And then I did this sort of big melody sort of thing here, which I guess you could call like a sort of chorus coming up here. acid line comes back in. So you get the idea. So that was kind of my basic sort of demo thing. But then a friend of mine, Flick, DJ Flick, who is originally from New Zealand, and I've known her for 20 odd years. She sang on my 2017 album, a track called Hot Weekend. She isn't really like on many, I don't think she's sung on anyone else's music apart from me. And she's a bit like Chrissie Hynde. She does this sort of talking, and she's got a very husky, sexy voice. So she's got that kind of voice that when she talks on a record, it just sounds cool. It sounds hot, you know? So basically, years ago, she did some vocals on, and I mean, I can't remember what the tracks were, you know? But it recently came to me. I was like, yeah, I think she did some. I was going back through the Devon Analog stuff, and I was down the gym, you know, working out. Not you believe it, but and I was, you know, like listening to that demo, and I was like, yeah, man, I'm gonna try and make that sound better. So I started making it sound better, and then I realised that, yeah, she recorded vocals for that like years ago, and I just completely, at the time, I don't know if I just didn't like them, or, you know, was maybe doing a tour, or, you know, something, or the ADHD kind of blindness thing of just like, yeah, cool, whatever. So anyway, I went back to it, and surprise, surprise, her vocals are actually pretty fucking cool. So, oh, that's 6.5, sorry, wait a sec, the wrong one, I'm playing the wrong one. Here we go, this one.
Expressing myself.
So this is just a demo, so obviously it's got her talking on it and shit like that. Is it loud enough for everybody? I can try and make it a bit louder. Shall I make it a bit louder, or?
Your majestic spirit inspires me. My heart sings like a bird uncaged. Can you hear me? Shackles dissolve easily. Tongue-tied butterflies complete me. Hard to express before flow the valleys and peaks of my breath with ease. Like a mythical beast summons her power. Here in this hour I feel free. Take me to the place of love creation. Take me to the new earth density. I wanna exist in your dimension. In the place where we can all be free. Come dance with me in this earth frequency.
So yeah, I mean, you get the vibe. It's not finished, but I think there's potential there. Do you know what I mean? And what's really interesting is when I delved deep into it all, her vocals had been auto-tuned before I even got them. And I didn't realise. So I've tuned them, you know, I've done some tuning on them somewhere. I'm not sure where exactly, but yeah, pitch correction here. So, you know, but basically it was really interesting. So I wanted to show you just my sort of process, because obviously I think there's quite a big difference. If we go back to the other one, just in terms of the sound on it, that was what I wanted to show you all tonight, was just to give you, because obviously it still doesn't sound great, but hear the difference? That is very raw and untreated. Whereas this sounds a bit, oh shit, wrong one, sorry. This, too many windows. Yeah, give me a sec. That sounds a lot better to me. It's still not perfect. I mean, to be honest, I think if I could, I might have to redo the kick and the snare, because unfortunately, for some fucking annoying reason, this is really school person error, they're on the fucking same audio channel. Obviously at Devon Analog Studios, I was just like, yeah, right, that's done. You know, so that's not good. I mean, obviously, I could cut them. I could cut it up, couldn't I? I mean, I you know. So it's a tough one with the kick and the snare because,
Expressing myself.
I mean, you would not believe how fucking much I've had to work that shit, you know? Do you know what I mean? But yeah, anyway, so I wanted to show you just some stuff. So, okay, so the kick and the snare, for example, there's a hell of a lot on this, but there's that EQ on it, which is obviously getting out the shitty whistles and shit like that. There's the Clint Murphy drum group thing on SSL, which I often use. So, you know, if I take that off, I'll solo it. Can you hear the difference? It's such a nice preset, this. I mean, obviously I do tweak it. I normally reduce the top end on it, but it's just fucking, you know, I don't know what, this is a secret sauce setting for me. Because anything I've got drums on, I always stick this on, and 90% of the time, it makes it sound better, you know what I mean? That is the only preset I've ever used on that SSL, by the way. The split EQ, so let's take that off. Hear the difference? So essentially what I've done is, I've done that sort of whistly, shitty dip, but I've also played with the transient and the tonal. So what the split EQ is amazing for is essentially, you can turn up or turn down the front of the sound, essentially, which is pretty cool. It would help if it was on, wouldn't it? Yeah, so I don't know if anyone else has used this much, but you can essentially, you've got a volume control on the beginning and the end of the sound, if that makes sense. Which, I mean, yeah, you could probably do that with gating, etc. But, you know, I think it's made a big difference.
So, Danny, were you using that? Were you trying to isolate the resonance on that? Yeah. Is that what you're trying to do with that, or with that EQ?
On the split EQ, so I'll put it back on.
Yeah.
Well, honestly, I use it like I use it as a drawing device, if that makes sense. You know, I'm not looking on it in a kind of technical. I mean, obviously, yeah, I've cut the shit there. Like, so if we take off 5 on and that, you'll.
Yeah.
But I don't really look upon it often as, it's not always a case of, and this is what I would say for all of you, is that you shouldn't always look upon it from a technical perspective and go, like, okay, I'll do this. I almost treat every scenario as its own thing. So all I'm trying to do, it sounds obviously really simplistic, is just improve the sound. Yeah. And I fart around with the transient and the tonal until I get someone I'm happy with, you know? And I'm sure if I did it again today, it would be slightly different and it might be better, you know? But I really use the split EQ a lot because I can rescue things. Because listen to the difference. It's that control. You know, it's like you're not just controlling the EQ, you're also controlling the decay of the sound. You're able to turn down the decay of the sound or turn up the attack, or, you know, whatever, you know what I mean? So the transient. So yeah, split EQ's been brilliant for me. And then another EQ, probably. No, that's SSL. So I'm using this a lot, the saturator. Can you hear a difference? It's a bit like the Clint Murphy. It just makes it more fat. And I've started to press the boost button quite a lot. I don't fuck around with this much. I literally just use the drive, you know? I'm pretty simplistic, you know? I don't really learn how they work as such. I just try and make them make my stuff better. I know that sounds a bit counterintuitive, but I'm more focused on trying to actually get the tracks done rather than learning everything on the fucking thing. I know that's maybe not the best advice, but yeah, anyway, so that's the drums. And, obviously if we take everything off, you'll hear it's quite a difference. And put it back on. I think it was that one. Oh God, I've forgotten which ones were on now. I'll have to save as probably to remember. Let me see. Yeah, I think that was the one. Was it that one? Yeah. The Clint Murphy, that's not. But there you go. Big difference. Okay, so you asked a question, Chris, about what I used at the Devon Analog. Well, the photograph of when I was working there, people have seen that photograph since and said it looks like the whole studio's been robbed, because that was 2017. It was like pretty sparse, but they had a Waldorf Wave, they had an Alesis Andromeda, they had probably a 60 and a, whatever other Juno is the good one.
Yeah.
They had quite a lot of good stuff. They had the Deckard's Dream. They had this ARP CV sequencer thing that was I guess it was meant to go with the CS, the one that DAF used, the sort of like weird, is it CS80 or something? The one that's kind of like got a little upright bit. It's like almost like a modular. You can plug in wires on it. It's like a tiny little
2600. It's called.
That one. The one that. Yeah. So I think this was a CV sequencer that went with that, and that's where like the acid stuff.
Nice.
Because there's no fucking way you could ever program that on a 303. So it's a bit loud. Yeah, so anyway, going through the rest of the track, the bass guitar. Right, so that was a big fucking problem. So essentially, that's my EQ on it. I pitch corrected it as well. Now, I'm not an expert with the pitch corrector, but essentially, all I do is find out the root note and then put it on the major scale. That seems to not make it warble too much, So if we take off, I'm not going to take the pitch correction off. Well, I suppose I could, but fuck it, I'll take it off. If I take off everything on this, I mean, that is literally what we recorded. Which I have to question, why would we record it? It sounded so fucking bad. I suppose you could argue that there was then something to work with, but I would have much rather recorded it sounding like I ended up making it. So if you're going to record bass guitar ever, this is my advice. I'm not saying make it sound exactly how you want it to be. Well, I mean, you should really. If you make it sound exactly how you want it to be at the end, then you don't have to do anything. Same as sampling good records or using good samples. But essentially, what I recommend you do the James Jamerson trick. Oh, I just hit my ceiling. I've got a low ceiling. Can you see that? That is a scouring pad. And if you insert that under the bridge, it stops all the resonance on the strings. So it basically makes it sound dull. Because most... I'm just going to put it back. Give me a sec. I personally think the Red Hot Chili Peppers would have sounded... Well, the Red Hot Chili Peppers' best tunes, in my opinion, are the really early ones before he started using the Stingray, because the Stingray is like really bright, and I'm not a fan of really bright metallic bass. I like bass that's bassy. So using the muting on the bridge thing, that basically makes it sound, and also the strings being flat wound is really, really important. Flat wound strings have less kind of resonance, less kind of like metallic, like the bass. Yeah, I think it's not a real jazz bass. I love size how it works. Like, did you pay 700? No, I paid I don't know, 350 or something for it, because at the end of the day, I am not a very good bass player and I don't play bass. So what's the point of me spending, you know, whatever it would be, like 1,200 quid on a jazz bass? But it's okay, you know. Okay, so other things I'd say with recording bass is probably turn the treble completely off, unless you want treble. But with this one, essentially, I'll go back to the Logic, yeah? And you can see that's the raw signal. And then with the EQ on, it's a bit better. And then with the pitch correction on, I don't know if you'll notice a difference, but there is a difference. It is doing something, because if you go on the, you can see it's doing something there. So the thing to remember with bass, well, and real guitar, but probably bass more because the strings are so big, is it actually doesn't stay in tune. You can tune it where it will be in tune on the 5th fret, but it might not actually be in tune on the 12th fret, you know? So essentially, the only way around that is to use special strings that actually my friend made, Jonathan Kemp, who's a professor at St Andrews University, and he basically created strings that would actually stay in tune all the way up and down, and that was using lumping. So on the end of the string, rather than it just goes to the, you know, the sort of little bit at the end of a string that catches when you're stringing a guitar, it's lumping where it actually goes like thinner, you know, it goes from like the thickness of the string to, you know, Google it, you know, but he invented strings that basically, which means that, for example, on his guitar strings, you can use, if anyone's a guitarist here, you can use the tremolo, and it will, this is what's mental, it will stay in tune when you tremolo. Because normally when you use a tremolo, the strings go at different intervals, so they go like that. He only the first 4 strings though, I think he couldn't do it with the top 2 because they're just metal. So again, it will be the lumping. It will be because the first 4 strings on a guitar. Any guitarists here? James, you look like a guitarist. Are you a guitarist? Yeah. Yeah. That was some guessing there, but yeah, so because the first 4 strings are wound. Anyway, we're geeking out here, but you get the idea. So that, and then the bass amp plugin that I used Deep, but I also did some, you know, I changed it. It's not just a preset. That's better. It's still metallic though. It's still got metallicness there. And then finally the split EQ. Yeah, I did do something there. I turned up the transient and turned down the tonal. Not a huge difference, to be honest. I think there might be I think it's a little bit tighter with the split EQ on. You might not hear it, but actually, sorry, I just remembered Chog didn't remind me to turn the stereo on. Oh dear. Sorry, Chog. But yeah, that's with. It's very, very minor, but I think it sounds a bit tighter. I'm looking in the chat, by the way. Any questions? Okay. Cool. Yeah, cool. Right, okay. So that's the bass. I mean, I think the drums are a bit pathetic sounding, but that's all I've got right now. The acid one. So obviously I did cut the low end off it just in case there's some sub. I sidechained it, I think, to Audio 12, which probably is her vocals, but let me see, where's Audio 12? Is there an Audio 12? Or is it the chords, maybe? I don't know. I've sidechained it to Audio 12. If that's the chords or not. That's channel 12. But yeah, and then I split EQ'd it. That, again, It's minor, but I guess I'm turning up the transient and lowering the tonal to give it more punch, if that makes sense, you know? To me, it's like I'm almost removing the top end a little bit by taking the tonal out. This is what I'm doing a lot, folks, is essentially I'm cutting the decay of things, or, you know, the kind of what you call the release almost of things. That's what I'm doing to tighten them up. You know, like I'm gating things, I'm using the split EQ because essentially I'm always trying to go for something that's more percussive often. You know, obviously it depends, you know, if it's a big airy pad, I'm not going to do that. But essentially what I tend to do a lot now is just tighten things. So essentially making them more just a transient rather than a transient and a big decay. If that makes sense? Yeah? Okay, so that's the acid. And then the intro chords probably didn't do a lot to them. Oh. A boost on the mid there. Not a huge difference. Probably just to make them sort of have more presence in the mix or whatever. And then we'll go to the vocals because that's pretty much everything apart from in the tune apart from the vocals. So her vocals, let me find the sort of lead vocal bit.
Take me to the place of love creation.
Yeah, I think I turned that. Did I turn that up? Yeah, I turned it up. It's interesting. When I was playing it back to you guys earlier, I turned it up. But now when I hear it like just straight, it sounds like her vocals are a little bit too loud now. It's so mixing, or obviously rough mixing, because this isn't mixed. It's so kind of like arbitrary what you do. Does that make sense?
Take me to the place of love creation.
So I've pitch corrected it, obviously.
Take me to the place of love creation.
But that warbling you can hear there, I think is actually already on it.
Take me to the place of love creation.
Can you hear the warbling? I think it had already been auto-tuned, I would imagine. Unless she did that, but I don't think she would do such a tight vibrato.
Take me to the place of love creation.
Creation. You can hear a little gurgle in there. So I think that whoever recorded this for her, but the thing I would say is, I would have personally rather that he hadn't auto-tuned it, because then I could control. Sorry, that's sexist, but I think it was a man. But yeah, the person.
Take me to the place of love. Take me to the place of. Take me to the place of love.
So what I find with pitch correction is it's like quantization, basically. It just makes it go like, take me to the place, which is useful, but it also makes it a bit soulless.
Take me to the place of love creation. Take me to the place of love creation.
It smooths out the sliding, because that's what it's doing there.
Take me to the place of love creation.
It's basically hitting when she's changing notes, because she's going, take me to the, you know what I mean? And it's making her go, take me to the, you know what I mean? So it's, you know, how can I put it? It's up to you how much you want to be brutal with pitch correction. I use pitch correction a lot when I'm mixing stuff, just because a lot of the time people are out of tune and it makes it feel more tidy. And then I use this.
Take me to the place.
Which is pretty brutal.
Take me to the place of love creation.
That's without.
Take me to the place of love creation.
But what that does is,
take me to the place.
It sits over the music. So this is where it can become, with dance music, it's very hard to mix vocals in dance music and have bass in the vocals. It really is hard, you know, because essentially most dance music or even live music has, frequency and bass and volume in the music. And you're basically slapping, imagine you're slapping an a cappella over or something like that, I'm just sorry to chat by the way. Tight split EQ. Ableton users here. Split EQ. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's completely possible to do the split EQ stuff with something else, but, I use it because that's what I've got.
Take me to the place of love.
So the other thing I'd say with the vocals, which is a little challenging for me, is that they're doubled.
Take me to the place of love.
And I think this one already has reverb on it, which again is a little bit like, cheers, man.
Take me to the place of love creation.
So what I've had to do, and I'm not satisfied with it yet, is, I mean, they're probably actually out of time. I think they're not actually synced very well. So
take me to the place of love creation.
So what I can do with that is just go up here and then just,
take me to the...
That's the wrong way, so go more this way.
Take me to the place of love creation.
But the thing is, her timing isn't the same on the takes. So when I was in the studio with Alex Morrison, who's the lead singer of the Four Tops, who, I don't normally go in the studio with people who've sung on like 1,000 records, he ran the session, because obviously I was just some kid, and he was just like, do it again. No, because he would not commit until he sang the same thing 8 times, and they all had to be bang on. It wasn't quite bang on. I mean, definitely, but it was more bang on than that. So what I would say is, you work with vocalists, is it's better to work with an experienced vocalist, or you need to control them redoing things and not just going, yeah, cool, that's fine. Ideally, the timing of the takes should be pretty bang on, because, or you're just going to have to sit and do it yourself, manually. But, most vocalists want to multiple track things because they just don't have a strong enough vocal to do lead vocals on their own, And so many vocalists that you think they're a strong vocalist, there'll be maybe like 4 or 5 channels of the same thing, but mixed so quietly. And imagine if there isn't an issue with the timing, you don't really notice that it's not one channel. Does that make sense? Yeah? So, yeah, back to this. Where is it, that one? Yeah. So essentially...
Sorry, I was just wondering, why do you double the vocals? Is it to give it more depth, or?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So listen to it without.
Take me to the place of...
So let's just...
Take me to the place of love creation.
Now, disclaimer is, this isn't finished, so I'm not saying this is right, but this is what I'm working with.
Take me to the place of love creation.
Can you hear the difference, Eric?
Take me to the place.
Atjazz showed me years ago, I mean, I've never really done it much, because I think most of what he showed me I just promptly forgot, but he would do a send of the lead vocal and then have a really, really heavily reverb channel, but then mix in like, 2%. He had all these tricks, but I remember him showing me all this, and then a couple of years later or whatever, I commented on it, and he's like, oh, I don't do that anymore. He'd moved on from that. So, you know what I mean? Like, it's a constant evolution. But what I would say, if you listen to this, what it is...
Take me to the place of love creation.
It's a reverb,
Take me to the place of love creation.
A reverb vocal.
Take me to the place of love creation.
What's the word that I'm thinking of, I'm looking for, that begins with T? Anyone? What it's doing? What's it giving? Anyone? T? Come on, James.
Timbre?
Nope. Texture.
Texture.
It's texture. Imagine instead of it being a frail, shrill vocal, there's some bass essentially. There's some body underneath it, you know? Because of the reverb is more muddy. Listen. There's loads of in there. So
Take me to the place. Take me to the place.
So it's texture. So, you know, that's pretty much... Now, I didn't choose this. They did it and recorded it and sent it to me. But I would say that in the defense of whoever did record it, or, you know, I think they know what they're doing about recording vocals, definitely. But probably it was like, you know, what Valanci would call quick and dirty or something. It was just, you know, a couple hours in the studio, bang. You know, I don't think it was hours and hours of work. Cool. So is there any questions? Anyone got any questions? Thickness. That's good. Good job. Anyone got any questions? Did that all make sense? A sea of blank faces. Cheers, guys. Cheers for the end.
Any other EQ plugins that you recommend, Danny? I know you can spend quite a lot of money on these things, can't you? We were in the chat just talking about stock versus fancy.
Well, I'll show you what I've
filter
got.
and things like that.
I'll show you what I've got, right? You'll laugh, right? Because it's like, look, okay, I'll go through it. Look, so basically on this channel here, yeah, I'll go down here. Can I make the screen bigger? Is that going to help? Yeah, you can sort of see a bit more there. Okay, so I've got the full Eventide set, but I got, you know, it's like 30 fucking plugins at the same time. So I don't have time to learn 30 plugins. You know what I mean? Or the concentration. I've got the SSL. I remember seeing Jim from Crazy P using this, and I was like, fucking hell, this looks cool, you know? So, you know, you click on it, basically, and then... But the thing with this that I find really fucking annoying is essentially you have to rotate, like, you know, it's like you have to kind of click on a different area and go boom, boom, boom. Like, I mean, it's great, I suppose, if you've got a trackball or a mouse, yeah? But, you know, like, I find that actually annoying to use. That's the cue, yeah? And then this is the gain here. And then the position of it, you obviously go like that, you know? So, I mean, I guess you can just go like that. But even just doing this, it almost feels like it hurts my finger.
Hard work.
Trying to push it up. Yeah, exactly. And then let's go to the what do you call it ones? The Eventide ones. I mean, that doesn't really look hot to me, you know. I gotta go by how they look, to be honest, in a way. I've got the words, man, you know what I mean? But I've got the... Does this have any EQ? I don't think so. But yeah, I've got a few. I've got the channel thing on the SSL channel thing. I mean, I don't know if that counts as an EQ, but I suppose it's an EQ.
Oh, yeah.
It's channel strip, isn't it?
Yeah, I think I've got one like that.
But essentially, I always go back to the linear phase EQ on Logic because, you know, it's just really fucking easy, you know, like...
I always tend to use the stock one on Ableton because it just does that quite simply, but I like the look of the Pro Q. I've got those Sound Toys ones as well, the more sort of character ones.
Yes.
Give a bit of
but I use Sound
texture
Toys.
Or yeah.
I always use Sound Toys like as a creative tool. I never think about using Sound Toys as a production tool. I mean, to me, most plugins nowadays for me are just kind of like for the sound, which is obviously, you know, it'd be great if I was like, you know, making them do lots of amazing things. But, you know, I really like the SSL ones, you know. I mean, I've got a lot of the SSL ones, like, for example, the tape one is pretty cool. This one, I've used this a lot on things, you know, for like, you know, remixes, things like making a double of a vocal track and then putting this on and then mixing it really low in the mix is really useful, you know. Obviously you got some nice presets, you know what I mean? So yeah, I use the stock because that's what I've used the most, if that makes sense. It's like a car, you know, like, I mean, if you've driven the same car every day and then you try a different one, I mean, if it's better than the one that you've got, you'll want to drive it. But if it isn't better, then why would you drive it? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Anyone
cheers, mate.
No worries. Anyone else got any questions or thoughts? Did that all make sense? Just a little bit. I just wanted to show you the transformation, you know? And for me, I know it's not finished, but I'm really happy that I've managed to improve the sound of that demo. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, I've got about another, 200 to go. But yeah, cool. So, okay, so thanks everyone. That was a bit of production stuff. I just wanted to do that today as a bit of a different vibe. So tracks wise, I've got quite a few to get through. Again, if we don't get through them all, we'll have to do it next time. So please hold that thought. Okay, so okay, so who didn't get their track listened to in the last session, or did everyone get theirs done? Was there anyone here who hasn't had a track listened to in the last session? Because they should go first. No? We did everybody. Okay.
We did them all.
Okay, cool. Okay, so give me a sec. Okay, so I'm just going to go with the order that well, what should I do? Should I do the wheel, or is that fairer? Or should I just do the order that I downloaded them? What do you think? What do you think, folks? Who submitted tracks? Bill.
Do the wheel, mate.
Yeah, Bill. Sai. Eric. Nick. Chog. Clint didn't. Paul. Right, so I've got Bill, Sai, Eric, Nick, Chog, Paul, James. Anyone else? Is that it?
I've put one in as well, mate.
Okay, excuse me, Chris.
No worries.
How could I forget you? Okay, cool. So, right. Anyone
Danny?
missing? Yeah?
Just quickly, your lav mic every time you lean forward is making you sound like a Dalek.
Dalek, yeah, okay. That's my famous chest hair. Right, I'll that should hopefully be better now. Okay, cool. Thank you. It's all part of the show. Right. Okay. Eric, see? The world needs to hear this tune. Okay, so Eric, what feedback are you looking for? What kind of what you want to know?
The previous version was longer, so I made it more DJ friendly. Yeah, and if the mix is okay, yeah.
Okay, great. Let's go.
Amen. A city of various races, various cultures, all subjugated to the same poison. How do we see Jesus? We may have to open our eyes to a Jesus that may have birth defects or with permanent brain injuries. We may have to open our eyes to a new face of Jesus. How do you see Jesus?
Okay, so Eric, little bit of feedback there. When it came back in, possibly the thing with the drum break on it is quite muffled and lo-fi. And if that was a bit, not necessarily louder, but a bit brighter, possibly had a bit more presence, that might help.
How do you see Jesus?
When it comes in here. It's a tough one, but it's very bassy. It's very, it sounds like it's like, you know, the dustiest vinyl ever. It might be more playable for DJs, possibly, if it was a tiny bit more, you know, like, you know, just the drums had a bit more presence, like on that bit, for example. But I mean, I love it. I think you've done a great job. I think the sort of way that you've improved it is really, you know, you've not over-egged it. You've not messed it up. So well done, Eric. You know, you've managed to improve it without losing any of the essence of it. It's better. My only slight feeling is, and this is obviously a rhetorical question, but it's quite serious content in terms of what the vocals are saying, you know? So you might be thinking that that's just a sound, like it's just something in the tune, but other people could ask questions like, you know, are you a Christian? Or are you making a statement? Or, you know what I mean? I'm not saying don't have it in or anything, but I'm saying that if you have serious social content in your tunes or religious references or things that are coming from, you know, a certain culture and you're not from that culture potentially, that could potentially be called out as cultural appropriation in today's world. But if you don't reveal your identity and just stick it out, you know, I'm just saying that, like, I made a track that came out in 2010 and it's, yeah, it has samples from a Madlib, the DJ Rel's mix that I've sampled a lot. And one of the vocal samples is a scratching noise, and then it says the N-word, yeah? And it says the N-word again and again and again on my tune. And I absolutely, at the time, never thought about the significance of that in terms of, I was just like, it's just a sample, you know? But now that, like, you know, in 2026, I'm like, what the fuck, man? Like, what was I doing, you know? And it's subtle, but, you know, someone might listen to that and go, what the fuck? You know, you can't say that, you know? Do you know what I mean? You can't have that in your tune. So I'm just trying to get you all to think about, be aware that other people might project their agenda on what you're doing, you know? So, but it's great, Eric, really good. But in your defense, Eric, one thing I would say is the way you've mixed it is fucking authentic for the sound. So it might be that that is the right thing to do, honestly, because someone like Danny Lowe, is more likely to, I'm not saying more likely to play it, but he's going to think it's authentic if he hears it and it sounds all dusty and fucked up. There's a guy called Boogeyman, who I believe was from Europe, maybe Dutch. Check out his stuff, Boogeyman. I used to play it, and that was very much like, sounded like Moodymann, but wasn't Moodymann, you know? But what I would say, Eric, with this kind of music is, because it's quite artistic and abstract, there comes a point where there's no point trying to improve it, because you're just going to make it more, like, less human, more kind of like commercial, basically. So I would probably say, honestly, that's done, and just fucking release it if you want. But be aware that some people might question the sample content. What does anyone else think about that? Does anyone else have an opinion or any experiences of that? Or have you seen anything online, any discourse about that kind of thing? Because I've seen people being taken down by RA, but obviously they were quite well-known people. But yeah, like, what's his name? Marky Hawks, you know, he got shafted by RA, which was a shame, you know, but...
And for like gospel house tracks?
No, Marky Hawks got shafted because there was two things that happened. One was that his name is, right, he's called Marky Hawks, which sounds like a person of colour from America's name, allegedly. And then he did a track called Cabrini Green, which was a notorious kind of dope spot in Chicago. I mean, I've been to Cabrini Green now. It's fucking gentrified as fuck. It's bagel shops, you know, which is kind of ironic, isn't it? Because Marky Hawks, I would have just been like, well, you've been there. It's not like that now. You know, I had a bagel there, you know. But he called it Cabrini Green because it was kind of, it sounded, essentially it was the discourse is about cultural appropriation. It's, you know, a white producer calling their track the name of a kind of ghetto area of Chicago. But anyway, that was one thing that he got hammered for. The other thing was his album cover was drawn by a person of colour, and it had like a crowd scene of people of colour dancing and everything like that. And because, you know, Marky Hawks just thought, I'll get this guy to do a cover for me, but RA went in on him, or, you know, people went in on him because, you know, he was a white artist with, you know, people of colour on the cover of his album, even though it was made by a person of colour. You know, it's like, this is the problem. You know the thing with Vacula with the space penis? Remember that? It was the space penis with Peggy Goo, Nina Kravitz, Nastia, and Black Madonna, Bless Madonna, driving the space penis. But he was like, yeah, but that was drawn by a woman. You know what I mean? It's like people, it's very, people see things and they go, right, that's what that is. I'm not saying that's not what it is, but there's often another story, which is, well, actually the person who made that is, if a woman made that, then isn't it sexist for a man to decide that that's sex? You know what I mean? It's, anyway, complicated shit. But the other thing that Marky Hawks did was he did a very ill-advised re-edit of something by, what's his name? He did Weekend, you know, Log. Really famous, like, disco producer, sort of disco, Leroy Burgess. The old brain's not working. Log. Yeah, he did an edit of this Log tune or remix, and then it got officially released. And Leroy Burgess went completely mental on socials and was like, you know, who the fuck is this Marky Hawks guy? This is trash, you know, totally kicked his ass. And that was, again, not great for Marky Hawks, because obviously this was a very, very, very respected, you know, pioneer artist of colour, basically saying that he was a charlatan. And he, honestly, it's not his fault. He just did an edit of a track and then it got officially released without Leroy Burgess's knowledge, basically, you know? Anyway, so, yeah, loads of people. Romer get into trouble. What would Romer get into trouble for? Was it against Romans or something?
No, he did a couple of EPs that sampled a lot of gospel and African chanting and things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I mean, he got called out on that.
We should be aware of this stuff, people, because that is 2026. You know, that's the world we live in now, is that people have strong identity politics, and essentially, people came for me. Do you remember when I used to go crazy on Twitter? Does anyone remember that? Yeah, I used to basically say shit on Twitter to really fucking annoy people, because I knew that I'd probably get, the thread of the day or whatever. But there was one where, what was it I said? I said something like, never use master tempo or something like. I made some, literally a comment about how you should use CDJs, and someone that I know from America said that because I'm European, meaning, white, it was colonial of me to make a statement about DJing, which I thought was hilarious, So yeah, I got called out as colonial, like fucking hell, man, because I basically said something to insult USB DJs deliberately, because they all use master tempo and they don't even understand why it's not good to use master tempo. You know what I mean? Does anyone know why it's not good to use master tempo? Can anyone tell me? Does anyone know what master tempo is? It's the thing where it keeps the pitch the same, but you can change the speed of the tune. Anyone?
Change the key.
Yeah, but do you know why it's not good?
Yeah, because it's warping the track.
It resamples the fucking track, so it completely fucks the sound quality. Yeah, exactly, Chog. Yeah.
Sounds fucking awful.
But that was my... but everyone uses it because it means that they can play, because unfortunately the audience don't care. Like, they don't care. They want to hear fucking, Michael Jackson at the right pitch. I'm personally a big fan of, if it sounds like Mickey Mouse because you speeded it up, then that's kind of more real. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But anyway, but yeah, so just to say, folks, let's not get too into it, but these are things that we have to consider, and also consider your kind of place in society and how possible it could be for someone to call you out, because it sounds shit, but it can happen, Okay, I don't want to get you all scared, but yeah, just be aware that there's always going to be someone out there who's going to fucking point the finger if they're having a bad day and they think there's something to point, like the colonial. I think it was, honestly, the amount of times I've said shit like DJs make, people who do loops on the CDJ, it's because they can't fucking hold the mix. So they only do a loop because then they've got to mix they've got to speed up that little bar, yeah. And that, I got absolutely crucified, because obviously all the people that did that were like, I don't do like, yeah, you do. Come on. So I did go through a stage of basically like really saying dark shit just to fucking wind people up. But ultimately, in the end, you just get loads of people coming for you. So it was an experiment. It entertained Paul, Okay, so, but Eric, great work. What do you think, folks? I think you should probably at least send it to some DJs, You could release it without actually revealing your identity, Eric.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, thanks everybody.
Okay, so let's go to this, the wheel. Bill, are you there, Bill? Bill?
Yeah, I'm here.
You've been very quiet tonight, Bill.
Yeah, just on the iPad, just mute button's a bit hard to mute sometimes.
It's not a criticism, Yeah, so what are you looking for with this then? You said this is new material for your next EP. Congratulations on moving.
It is. It's, I suppose, maybe cheating a little bit. This is. I've been in the studio with Hamish a couple of times this week. So
it's even ghostwriting for you then?
It's all my writing, but a bit of the mixing and engineering is Hamish. But yeah, looking hopefully just looking for a nod on this one, really, because I'm quite keen to get this out for mastering and inclusion on my second EP.
When are you aiming to have your second EP out, Bill?
Probably end of June.
Fucking hell, man, that's rapid. Wow, great. You've obviously got a lot of music.
I wrote in about 2 days. This one was had a deadline to get this done for this session with Hamish.
Great. Okay, right, let's check it out. So, Bill, before we forget, the acid line is too loud often, and it's very static on the level. It's just hanging there, and also you could have dropped it out where it dropped out a little bit on the breakdown. It doesn't need to come back in there, I mean, you need to let the backing sing sometimes. You're papering over it with the acid line. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have a problem with the timing of it, Chog. I know what you mean, Chog, but yeah, totally. But maybe that's okay, maybe. I think when it's mixed loud, it makes it worse because you can hear that it's slightly dragging. But if it was mixed a little bit quieter in the mix, maybe it would be okay. But yeah, you could try moving the acid line to the right a tiny bit, like a few frames, Bill. Because I think essentially that would mean it would be more in with the drum beat. The pads sound very shelved. So as in, they sound like they've had like loads of bass taken off them. They're quite almost a bit metallic. So my issues are all basically mix engineering, Bill, if that makes sense. So, I don't know, I kind of feel like it's quite uniform with your music, but the drums often sound quite kind of, not muffled, but quite kind of mid-level, mid-rangey, and I think because of that, your pads and things like that have been maybe like made a bit like not much bass in them, so that they can sit there. The kick is better than it was on your first EP, but it's still a bit kind of like boxy, if that makes sense. Just that I think you're tending to use quite boxy kicks, but that isn't necessarily a mistake, because that means then your bass can sit underneath them. It also means they're probably more radio friendly, because if you have a really bassy kick, it's not going to really work on the radio so well. Or you obviously... So the music's totally cool. It's a tiny bit tentative feeling in the changes on it, if that makes sense. They're a bit sort of like, almost like, is it okay to change on the certain points in the tune? I don't know, maybe you could be a little bit bolder sometimes with where it changes by maybe having a bit more of a volume change on something, or, you know what I mean? So it's just that, the tune's there. It's just really refining now. Does anyone else have anything they want to say to Bill? Anyone disagree with me, or anyone? No? I mean, it's been very positively received, Bill, so no worries with the quality again. And it's a bit more deep, you know?
I agree with you, Danny. I don't know whether at points it almost felt like it was building up to something and then it didn't quite deliver on it. You could, but maybe that's what you're trying to do, and I also really like it for that as well. So, but you could just try and put a bit more energy in at certain points as well to take it up a bit, because it's got that sort of quite uplifting feel to it with all of the pads and the melodies. Yeah. So you could definitely go there.
I mean, Bill, the softness that you have sometimes in your music isn't necessarily a bad thing, because it's kind of character. And I don't think it would be a good idea to make your stuff more kind of, muscular, but it could be sometimes that you're slightly going on the side of kind of like it not quite delivering as much as it could, in terms of just it's a bit like, say, tentative. It's a bit like, is this okay? Sort of, like you've got great, I think your mixing will become more bold. And remember that if you're getting someone else to mix your tunes for you, there's a risk, because they're going to make it sound good, but they won't necessarily make musical decisions that you should make. And if you fall back on them, you're essentially going to be getting half your vibe, because you're not fully in control of the sort of hard cuts. And because that's the thing, I think your stuff could do with sometimes a bit more hard cutting, like listen to some Lindstrom, like listen to stuff like that, because he, and it is what it is, don't worry, Bill, I mean, you're really early stages, so take all this on board, but remember that Hamish will probably make it sound good, but he isn't necessarily going to be the person that can make those musical choices for you, because he's not the writer.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, we did sit for quite a while, and we discussed quite a lot about the level of that acid line, and I was kind of wanting it reduced a bit more, but I'll go back to him. I think that's that should be doable to get that reduced a bit before.
But remember, Bill, that you can get him to help you with the mixes, and then you can I mean, people do it with me all the time. They'll still go and make changes on their own afterwards, because it's not quite fitting what, you know what I mean? So don't take what Hamish does as the gospel for you. It's the gospel for when you guys are together, but then you can go away afterwards and go, actually, I think that's too loud. You're the producer.
Yeah.
You are the producer. Okay, cool. So, but great. Yeah, best to do the mix yourself, but obviously Bill is quite new at producing. But I would say, Bill, that ultimately getting other people to do it for you means that you're always going to have to pay them potentially in the future,
Yeah, no, I'm hoping I'm learning as I'm going along with this. So.
Yeah, but remember that when people want to work with me and they want to just like know everything I know, then it isn't really the best value for me to just someone to pay me for a session to teach them 30 years of knowledge. So, Ian Pooley, I remember him being like, I'm not going to teach them anything in the masterclass. He said, because I taught myself everything, so why shouldn't they? Classic German. Yeah. He was like to me, he was like, you're a very persistent man. I was like, fucking hell, like, I'm just asking you to do a masterclass. I'm not a stalker. Okay, so thank you. I love it. You know, he's so dry, you know. Okay, so good work, Bill. Good work.
Thanks very much, everyone.
Yeah, great. Okay, so let's go back to the wheel. The wheel. Is it going to go to Chog? Yes, Chog. It always does that. It does this little bit where it always continues. Okay, Chog. So track from you. What's the story?
No story. Just play it. Trying to be a bit more minimal, not overdo it. But let's see.
Okay, cool. Just give me a sec. Just. Right. Where's the downloads? Oh, sorry. Come on, you. Okay, so date added. Chog. The stab Chog to me just sounds out of tune. It's also a bit of a cliche. So I would say that's letting the side down.
A different bass line and then change the bass line. And you're right, it doesn't sit quite right.
It's sort of out of tune.
Yeah, fair enough.
Sorry. I'm harsher with you, Chog, because your tune's nearly finished. I would say, Chog, honestly, like, I don't think you should get rid of it necessarily. Just make it a bit more exciting, or, you know, maybe a call and response, because it's just kind of going like, dup, dup. So if you had something else that went, then you have to kind of almost remove the kind of, that people are going to notice that it's the same thing over and over again. So if you had a kind of synth going, then no one would notice that it's going, derp, derp, derp. So it's like half a call and response. It's a response, basically. Make sense? Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, look, I mean, it's great, like, really cool. The only reason I'm pulling in on that one is because that, for me, was, like, letting the side down against the quality of the rest of it, Chog. Does that make sense?
Yeah. With the other bass line, it fitted really well. And, yeah, I was sort of, half thought what you're saying. I do think it needs something at that point in the tune to lift it, or maybe it's just a bass line tune, and then it's there to be mixed over.
I think it would be a little bit like lacking in depth if you didn't have more, because the backing and everything's all great, but you either have to kind of go, okay, that's all there is in the tune, and then you have to put more detail in that.
Yeah.
Or what you've got now is you've got a great backing track that rolls, does everything. I don't think you need to change it or put more into it. There's enough going on in it, but you need that levels on top that's going to stop people noticing the backing and dance to it, but then they're going to focus on these new things coming in. So, or you strip it back and then you have to just do loads more drum edits and, you know, cutting to just the synth noise, the bass noises. And, you know, I think you're totally on the right track. Yeah, the thing I was saying at the beginning was that one on the left is freaking loud, man.
Is it in from the very start of the tune? Is it that one?
No, it's
like literally right on the tune.
Yeah, it's getting louder. It's the one on the left.
Can you go right literally from the start and see if it's there? That one?
No. It's that one, I think.
The sort of Latin percussion-y thing.
So let's go, coming in now. That one.
The like open hat.
There.
Yeah.
That one.
I think it is the one from the beginning. There's an LFO opening.
But I mean, listen to how loud it is.
Yeah.
So loud, man.
I know. I turned it all down. You know me. The pokey percussion.
It's all, no, but it's just freaking loud. So yeah. But apart from that, everything's cool.
So James was saying like things felt a bit unbalanced on the panning. Did you mean in the drums?
It might just be like as the drums are coming in and out, it's sometimes drawing my attention to like one side or the other.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit
some
too
bits
much,
a bit
maybe.
auto-panned. And, yeah, okay. That's good to know.
Yeah, it felt a little bit like arbitrary sometimes what was going on with the like there was two different things that you'd panned quite hard left, and they really stuck out as being too loud to me. The shakers,
Okay.
So I would just take a look
Got
at
it all
that,
back in a
Chog.
bit.
Just
Yeah.
take a look at it. But as I said, club sound systems are in mono, so probably that would be like turned down by that. But ideally, you want to have the stereo mix that people are going to listen to on headphones still be, right. Yeah?
Okay.
But great
Yeah,
stuff.
and yeah, so if you do want a story about it, I think this was the first thing when I started it. It wasn't quite the same. First thing I wrote after our visit to Berlin.
Oh, wow.
That was the vibe.
Well, if you can make that, if you can take the stab out and do a little bit of work on it, I'm not going until the 30th of May. So just to say to anyone in the group, if you've got anything that you want to send me before I go, I'm happy to listen to stuff, so DM me.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you very much. Thanks for the comments, everyone.
No worries. Great work, Chog. Okay, so let's go back to the wheel. Where is the wheel? It's here. Okay. Oh, God, no. That one. There we go. Okay. Si.
Go.
Okay, Si. So what's the score?
It's just I changed the track from last time. I've changed the intro a little bit. Hopefully done a lot less, so it's not too complicated, too full on all the time. Yeah, just give it a whirl. Let's see what people think.
Right, so this is what you sent me for the aborted session last Tuesday, right?
Yeah, it should be
So
in
it's
perfect resonance.
Yeah, and then X Max, MPC, MTK, HW, X Max limit. That one.
That's the one, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Thank you. So, Si, you've done a great job on this. Really good that you've totally taken away all that sort of too much going on, that kind of intensity, and it feeling like it's a constant drum fill. You know, you've done really well with this. So, you know, honestly, for me, the sound is the issue. The mix, the levels, the choice of things being like quieter, and so it's just basically like mixing it better, I would say. Yeah.
Okay. So what do you mean by kind of just balance wise, or
everything really? I mean, it sounds really bright and harsh and kind of metallic, and it's too violent. It's a very violent mix, you know. And this music needs to be mixed more soulfully, I feel. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
It's like a warm, low mid resonance. You know, it's soulful kind of. You know, Theo Parrish vinyl kind of. That for me is what it should sound like. But you've mixed it like a fucking techno track. It's like bum bum, you know, like how hard the kick is. Cool, you know what I mean? It's mixed like a techno track, so.
Okay.
So it's just basically really loud, kind of bright drums, and then all your bass is mixed quite quietly and maybe could be compressed or EQ'd better. The chords sound like they've been really shelved. You know, it sounds like the bass has been taken off them a lot. So it's just, I mean, there's a lot of things to sort on this. But yeah, it basically it needs a mixed job.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean it's like the music's great, so no problems at all there. Remember, everyone, that like a mixes needing done, that is the least of your worries. I mean, if the music's crap, there's nothing you can do, you know? So the mix not being right and that's just experience and understanding like how a track like this needs to be mixed, like what's the right type of mix for it, etc., you know? Everything's there, Si. Listen to some Kai Alcey or something like that, or some,
Yeah,
you know,
funnily enough, yeah. Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I was listening to one of his tracks. Yeah, no, I did.
The only thing with Kai Alcey is, remember that he he phones in, whatever the phrase is, he just phones in the drums. Like, he does that thing that a lot of the US guys do where it's just the same drum beat for 7 minutes with him soloing over it. So you don't want to be like that. You know, you've still got nice drum arrangements there where things are, you know, dropping out to the kick and, you know. Zephyrin Saint, what's his name, Lars Bartican, you know, anyone like that, you need to reference to their mixes.
Okay.
You need to sound like that.
Cool.
Yeah?
Thank you. Yeah, cool, man.
But music's sounding way better. You've done a great job on that. Now it's just sorting out the brutality of the sound.
Yeah, okay, cool. I'll go back to it then.
So yeah, look, some comments here. Definitely want to keep working away at. Good balance down the complexity of the drums. I did think the bass line might be sounding a bit too complex when it sounds like there's two things playing at the same time. You know, like you could have that happening sometimes, but remember, if something is really complex and it's on a lot, it's punching people, you know, it's just like the bass.
Which bit do you mean?
You know, where it's that stuff on the bass.
Yeah, there's 2 octaves, right? Yeah.
it's cool, but you can't have it doing that loads, because doing that, it just becomes a mush. Like, have it happening sometimes, but it's very hard for people to follow that many notes that are being played by in the same frequency, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
So you can you do tend to, in your music uniformly, make it sometimes too rhythmically intense or dense for repeated listening. So what you need to do is maybe have those bits happening as fills, rather than being the full bass line, if that makes, or the full drum track, you know? Like, some of the stuff that I've been working on with you, all I'm doing in the end is just making it 4/4. I'm like reducing, I'm taking away all these fills and offbeats, and, you know, just because in the end, people can't cope with, you know, 7 minutes of a really complex drum beat that isn't a live jazz drummer. You know, if it's a live jazz drummer, they've got all these velocity changes, they might use 2 snares, they've got all this shit. But if you're just doing it with like MIDI notes that are the same hits every time, after a while it becomes just like quite like being hit with a hammer at the same hardness, you know. You're going to hit someone with a hammer for 5 minutes. If you vary the hardness, at least it's interesting for them, you know.
I get you.
Yeah,
I get you
cool.
what you're saying.
Yeah,
cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. Thank you.
No worries. Yeah. Sorry, that's a terrible analogy, by the way. If, you know what I mean, though. Okay, so, okay. Who's next? It's Paul.
I didn't see the spinny wheel. Did you say Paul?
Oh, shit, sorry. I did that classic thing of sharing the screen with myself. Okay, so we'll just do them all anyway. Is that all right with everyone? We've only got 3 more to go, so is that cool? Yeah? It's nice and fair then. Okay, so Paul, what's going on with this track?
Yeah, just a general feedback, really. I was trying to go for something a bit deeper, or maybe an older 16B or early Glasgow Underground track, but I don't know if it quite nailed it. But yeah, just general feedback, really.
Great. Okay, let's check it out. So, Paul, music's done on this, like with a lot of people's stuff. It's just a mix, really. It's like the levels are a bit kind of off, you know, on certain things, you know. I think that that little clave thing that I was... little poppy thing there.
Yeah.
It might be too constant, the level of it. It might need to, you could vary the level a bit, or I don't know, how long's it on? Is that on all the way through, or is it just
the volumes vary throughout it, so it ducks into the mix at times.
Cool, great. So you've already done. I just heard it at the end there, and I noticed that it was quite uniform in volume.
Yeah.
But, so I wasn't sure. Well, great, you've already done that then. I mean, I just think that bit at the end there, it's up to you. I mean, you could just have it on that loud at the bit at the end because, you know, no one's going to care then, you know. But I just felt like levels-wise, the synths sound very loud against the drums.
Okay.
And they're all quite uniform in volume, the different parts.
Mm-hmm.
So I just felt like you could maybe make them kind of interplay a little bit better in terms of, it's just volume, that's all, you know?
Yeah, I had tried to do that with filtering them and the volumes on them to try and bring the focus onto one at times as opposed to the other one and stuff. But yeah, maybe go a little bit more with it to make it pronounced.
It's minor, but I just wonder if they're just a tiny bit too loud against the drums, just a tiny bit. So I would just, like, you know, bust them all to a fader and then just turn that fader down like by like, you know, 1 or 2 dB, or you could just put like a gain on the channels or whatever, but keep the submix of all of them because, you know, it's nice. It's a tough one though, because I'm sure when you listen to stuff from the 90s or the early 2000s, probably the drums weren't mixed as loud as people mix the drums now, you know?
Yeah, they were a bit. The thing I agonise the most on with this track is the length of the pick. It's not too boomy or anything.
I mean, I think the kick's fine. It's just, I guess the problem is, Paul, if you make it mixed like perfect, then you've lost your signature sound, you've lost your character. But it's interesting what you've done, but you essentially made the bass and the synths like way louder than the drums, or feeling more presence. That isn't always what people do. So I don't know. I mean, what does everyone else think in the group? I mean, is it okay to do that? Is it wrong? You know, should you be trying to make something that's just has powerful drums? You know, what do you think, folks?
Yeah, I think it feels more of a considered sound, maybe. Like it's less sort of a really upfront kick and less chunky, maybe, and a bit more delicate, which is nice. And I think that, yeah, you mentioned Glasgow Underground, and someone else has said, I think you nailed that sound, definitely. But yeah, I mean, if the balance is slightly off, maybe it is, but I don't know. It all sounded good to me, though. I thought, yeah, it was doing just the right amount of stuff.
Cool.
Yeah. I mean, it's got character, Paul. It's a tough one, isn't it? I'm just always looking upon it from the purpose of, like, how can you maximize, not the DJ potential, but you know what I mean? Like, how can you, you know, make it stand up against other stuff? And unfortunately, if your drums aren't muscular, then DJs might not play it again. If they, you know, it's one of them ones, isn't it? I mean, I have some tunes that I kind of worry about playing, you know, but then flip side is maybe the crowd would like those tunes more. You know, it's like you can decide what you think about something, but you can't decide what they think about it. You know what I mean? They decide that. So a lot of this is
because a lot of stuff I've done recently has had those tough drums, and it's a very modern thing, isn't it? And yeah, sometimes you just need a break from it.
Sure, and the thing with having the drums tougher is it's more constant, more consistent, less dynamic. I like what you're doing with the synths and everything like that. And I suppose the flip side as well is to remember that drums are often turned up in mastering and by systems. Like in Berlin, I used to play house music on systems and it'd be like literally sound like fucking banging techno. The kick drum would be like, doo, doo, and you're like, what the fuck, you know? So it maybe isn't necessarily a bad thing to make your stuff synths louder, because they're the things that are going to be sort of limited in a club potentially, you know? But cool, just food for thought, Paul, you know?
Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah,
but music's great, wicked, you know? Yeah. Okay, let's go back to the wheel. Oh, shit. Sorry, I'm having some sharing problems tonight. Chris. I did share it this time at least. Okay, Chris, so what's going on with this then?
It's new, it's a demo. So it's rough, it's a rough arrangement. Turned it into an arrangement over the past week or so, so just looking for feedback, general feedback on the track. I've tried to do a bit of mixing with it, but I'm sure you'll tell me that the drums are too loud. But yeah, anything really, anything that people have to say about it. But yeah, really. Thanks, Danny.
No worries, thanks, Chris. just wanted to say the clap getting loud there, I presume that's from
Yeah.
parallel compression. What you can do is you could send a kick on a channel that's silent, you know, to it, or you could just automate the volume of the clap on that point. That sometimes happens in mastering, and that used to really piss me off, you know, when the things got louder on the breakdowns. But yeah, that's just minor.
Yeah.
So yeah, Chris, just want to say you've definitely massively improved the variety of the velocities and the movement in the drums. That's something that you've obviously worked on. So well done.
Yeah.
Really good. Yeah, I mean, sounds pretty good to me. Sounds nicely engineered. The snare, maybe the level of that is a teensy bit too loud, so that you notice that it's quite repetitive, if that makes sense, you know?
Yeah.
So turn it down a bit.
The clap sound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty loud.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's possibly too loud because it shouldn't be the loudest thing in the track, I don't think. Probably you want the rolling hi-hats to sit above it a little bit, a teeny bit above it. So I would turn that down by probably about 2-3 dB.
Okay.
Just a bit. And the kick as well.
Yeah.
It's poking through. So I'd say it's like kick, snare. So, you know, but really arrangement's wicked. And then, yeah, probably those hats as well. So I think they're just, the kick and the clap and the hats are sitting above everything else a teensy bit too much. But the hats are the energy in the tune.
Yeah.
Or the rides or whatever they are.
Yeah. I tried to keep it all quite sort of minimal, this really.
Well, here, that bit there, that's really nicely mixed. So it's just, you can tell everybody what's wrong on your tune sometimes, where when something drops out and you're like, oh, that bit sounds pretty good. You know, that means that the thing that's dropped out isn't maybe mixed right, or is the wrong choice of sound or whatever. So that bit there, not really got any major issues with that at all. Even the kick being massive doesn't matter.
Claps,
you know,
it's dominating a little bit, isn't it?
Yeah. So you like the fact that the kick is okay to be massive there shows you that when there's something else on as well with the kick, that's kind of adding to the bigness, if that makes sense. But
there's some pads and stuff later on that I add.
it's too bright, it's too metallic. Possibly if you've got a reverb on it, it's adding treble a bit.
Easy fix.
I think the level of the hats there when they came in though was really nice. Like the level of the hats against the pads is really good there. Just that little bit there when they came in. Really nice. So yeah, just your snare thing being way too loud. And I mean, so it's really, but I mean, everything else is pretty cool, Chris. I mean, it sounds advanced, it's sophisticated. So I think if you could get this, you know, finished, this is probably release standard, I think. What do you think, everyone else? It sounds pretty accomplished to me.
100%. Sounds awesome.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, everybody's stuff tonight is release standard, like everybody's. So don't feel like there's a difference in level between anybody. It's just, you know, my job is to, you know, try and find the stuff that needs solved, basically, to help you get to, you know, house music nirvana. So, yeah, thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Yeah, so great work, Chris. So let's go back to the wheel. It's a big contest now. Oh, James, it's so unfair. You know, you have to get up so early. Okay, so Nick, what's going on, Nick?
Yeah, I started this as a silly thing, trying to sample some vinyl, really, and I'd be interested in your thoughts on the level of cultural appropriation, because it's sampling like a reggae track.
I kind of honestly feel, everybody, that it's words that is usually the issue.
I don't know what they're saying in this.
But you know, as in, I mean, if you sample I mean, come on, so much dance music has been culturally appropriated by the sampling of the music. I think we're all quite desensitized to that. I think it's when there's words and often speaking, you know, like that, you know, there's many uses of Martin Luther King and Malcolm X that in the 90s or the 2000s, that was okay. But then it became a bit like a cliche, and B, you know, are you the person to have Malcolm X on your tune, you know? Public Enemy might have something to say about that, you know? So, but I wouldn't worry anybody here about what you sample musically. I guess the only thing I would say is it tends to be a little bit of a no-no to sample another electronic music track if you're making electronic music. I'm not saying you shouldn't, but, you know, I personally prefer to sample things that are not in the same area, if that makes sense. Because then it kind of feels like you're ripping. It's funny, isn't it? It's all right to rip off a band, just don't rip off another house music producer, you know? So I just want to say this is brutally mixed again. It's very brutal, but in Nick's defense, because there's a sort of swing and funk in there, it sort of almost gets away with it. I think it is too brutally mixed, Nick, but the fact that it's quite rolling, that kind of helps it a bit, if that makes sense. this bit's really cool, Nick. I mean, again, it's a little bit brutal on that long held note, but it's gone kind of almost a bit tropical, dream housey somehow, or something. Ideas there. So yeah, Nick, great. It's a little bit messy, you know, so it's definitely a first pass or whatever. I think it needs refining a bit. I just think, like, again, like size, it's very, very powerfully mixed. So I know this is more lending itself to that because it's more like hardcore as a style. But that snare is sticking out a lot.
Yeah.
So let's listen to, just as a reference, if you give me a sec, it's in here. Oh. This one. Still quite loud as well, actually, but it's held in by the hats. I just wanted to this as a reference. I mean, I would say the snare's a bit loud on that as well, to be honest. Interesting when you listen to other people's stuff. But this is a track that's kind of rated, but you know, not perfect either. Just wanted to check that out as a reference. Yeah, it's the Rhythm Plate remix of Brooks from like 1999 or something like that. I don't know how old it is. It's old. So yeah, honestly, Nick, the sound on this is pretty good. It's just a little bit like size. It's just a little bit too muscular at times. Like that sound is very distorted. I think because it's so distorted, I think you might have to be a little bit more sensitive about how loud you mix it in the mix. You know what I mean? Maybe it's a little bit loud. You could also vary the volume of it, like by making the volume go a little bit up and down while it's held notes, you know? Are you making this on Ableton or are you making it on the Elect Tribe?
Ableton.
Right. Just it sounds quite like size can sometimes be a bit, you know, like uniform on the levels of things.
Right, yeah.
So could you try maybe making things kind of breathe a little bit more in velocity, and so like if you have the part playing all the way through the track, have bits where you just turn it down a bit on a section just to make it kind of move a bit more. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, but music's great, man. There's so much ideas there. So it feels like you just sit down and you're just like getting out all your kind of, I don't know, stress or kind of energy or something. It's just like this very energetic feeling, Nick, which is good. I think you've got an energy in your music that isn't the same as most music producers, possibly because of your live music background. I mean, I spotted some guitars in the background. I don't know, but
yeah, that's cool. Thanks.
Anyone else got any thoughts for Nick? No.
Thanks everyone. Yeah.
They liked it. Yeah. Cool. All right. So James, let's go to James. Yeah. So James, what's the sort of vibes with this? What are you thinking?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just sort of something I sort of rediscovered on the hardware. So I kind of just tracked it out and put together a little bit of an arrangement. So it's still sort of early days.
Cool. Okay, so James, so with this type of music, I don't think the mix is as important because it's quite abstract. So I think the mix quality that you've got is fine. My only thing is that kind of creaking kind of noise, that kind of, I don't know how to describe it. The clacky thing. That one. It's quite repetitive. I think that you might have not noticed how much it's on, if that makes sense.
Totally,
So that one, that is sticking out for me as just, it's a bit, I don't know about it being, you say a bit loud. I think it shouldn't be on as much, you know? It is quite loud, but I think the issue for me is just, it's just going on and on. It's just going blah, 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 you know? Everything else is quite in and out. So I think that's what you've got to focus on now on this track, really, to make it finished. It's just finding any bits that are sort of, you know, maybe going on a bit or not noticed, and then just cutting them down a little bit. But I mean, 90% is right. You know, for example, the longer that noise goes on, the less it reduces the dynamic in, like that change there, you know, it's not as much of a change because it has that sound in that was already on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You have to accentuate any changes you have by not having things continuing. Obviously, you have to have your drums continuing and stuff like that, you know, but anything that was playing before a change, if you can, get rid of it because it makes the change have more power, you know, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Analogy time. If you break up with someone, right, and you say, oh, right, we're finished, and then your mates see you out a couple of weeks later and you're wearing a bit of clothing they gave you, they're going to be like, are they really finished? You know what I mean? So it's a bit like that. You know, you got to fucking go in. You know, if you're making a change. You know? So the other thing, James, again, is because everything's playing at the same time, it feels a little bit constant. So I would try and sort of have something on and then something off a bit more rather than kind of everything's playing at the same time. It sort of drifts a bit just because of that. It's hard to explain it more than I think you need to sort of just have a little bit more variety with it. I'm not saying like have some big changes, but it's cool that it's a vibe, the sounds are going on, they're coming off, but maybe having a little bit less, just kind of everything's playing at the same time. And then if it goes back to everything playing at the same time later, that might make it feel quite similar to the bit before where everything was playing at the same time. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just kind of like, and there's a point in this where there's a maximum things that you need on at the same time. And I think you've definitely hit that point in the track. And there might be points where it might be slightly too much on at the same time, unless it only happens like once or something, you know? So I think you've got so many bits in there and it's really working well having them on. But I think, yeah, you've got to at some point just go like, this is the number of channels that I'm going to have on at the same time. And then if you want to have a different bit in the tune, you just have to mute some stuff and then have, so that the other things are on at the same time rather than everything being on. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so it's that kind of like going through and I can maybe, because I've sort of recorded all these parts out and brought them in and out, but I can kind of just make a bit more space by taking them out.
Yeah, do an arrangement of your arrangement, as in the arrangement is working, absolutely working.
Yeah.
But then do a sort of more deeper arrangement of, imagine each section, do a little arrangement in that, you know, and then go on to the next one. And it might just be a case of going, oh, I'm not going to have that thing on there, and then going to have that thing on there. I mean, you've probably already done that a bit globally anyway.
Yeah,
but
just do it a bit more refined.
Yeah, more refined, exactly, yeah.
Totally.
But everything's there, man, like, and it's really cool vibe. I don't really know exactly that, like, kind of thing that someone was asking that's from the Digitact. It reminds me of something like the Mighty Bop, or some like their old trip hop stuff from like the kind of like mid-90s, where they had this sort of like floaty feet. It was very floaty, Yeah, it's really, really cool shit. Yeah, so yeah, Levon Vincent.
I do like Levon Vincent.
He's a very intriguing guy because his music's pretty sophisticated, but he seems like a sort of Brooklyn dude,
He still put stuff out, that guy.
I don't know, man. I don't know what. I mean, he's a mysterious.
He put some good stuff out, didn't he, for a time, for sure.
Yeah, the one that I always play is on that label that he did with the guy who did On the Corner. It's another New York DJ that they fell out really badly. So they don't work together anymore, and that's why Levon started Novel Sound, I think. But let me look up Levon Vincent, because the one that I play all the time, do you know the one? It's that sort of techno one that goes, it's like absolutely gnarly as fuck. Do you know it? It was on that label that he ran with. Oh, what's that guy's name? I can never. I don't know anyone else has a problem that any of the New York DJs who don't release records, I always struggle to remember their names. I know that's really offensive, isn't it? But Deconstruct, yeah, that's it. Solemn Days, yeah. Anthony Parasoleil, that's it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
yeah, I know that guy.
Yeah. Do you know that one? Solemn Days. Does anyone else know that one? It's proper. It's like
so.
It's a real Panorama Bar fucking tune. That I'm definitely going to play it next weekend. But it's techno but house tempo. I think it's the best thing he's ever done. Does anyone else know this tune or not?
Yeah.
It's that. Yeah, check this shit out. It's so gnarly when this comes in. That's like the pills are coming up. I think this is fucking genius. But yeah, he used to play there, I mean, but yeah, he did some stuff that wasn't great. I don't know if anyone knows about it, but there was a sort of terrorist attack in Paris, and he basically did a social media post recommending that everyone arm themselves. And he recommended like a flick knife that he had, and was going. Yeah, it wasn't a good move that. I remember his agent posting eventually, going like, "He's losing all his gigs. Can you lot stop talking about this?" And it's like, well, he said it, yeah. There you go. Cool. So, big thanks everybody. You go to see Masters at Work. You go into the Hard Times thing at Ministry, yeah.
Yeah, a rare night out for me. Yeah, but it finishes at 10 o'clock at night, so I'll be tucked up in bed, I'm sure. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what the sound system's like there, because they changed it all, and
I heard
mixed results.
Yeah, I heard they had Ron Trent and Joe Clausell on at the first one of their parties, and yeah, it wasn't too good. So I'm hoping it's better, because I've been there before and it was amazing. So
well, yeah, they used to have this amazing system, but they put a new one in. It's the classic thing when they get a new one, and it's Berghain used to do that. Panorama Bar would be like, yeah, we've made the system way better, and it'd be like, no, it's not as good. My neighbours went. It's so funny. My neighbours went, right? My next door neighbours. And they were like, no, there was nothing wrong with the sound system. It was just Joe Clausell, basically.
Well, yeah, that's true, yeah.
They were like he literally, because it was like, it was supposed to be all right when Tony Humphries played, but then when Joe Clausell won, it really went wrong. And he was pushing it too hard. And I'm like, well, the guy's been DJing for about 40 years. I mean, So I guess I'm a Joe Clausell hater. Sorry, folks.
Yeah.
But hey, so big thanks everyone for tonight. Awesome music as ever, really high standard. I'm looking forward to hearing the finished tracks from everybody. What do you think though? Pretty hardcore standard from the group, right? You all need records out. Like, come on, you can do it. get your shit out there, show the world that they're not doing a good enough job, you know? Cool. So big thanks, everybody. Well done on all the hard work, everybody. And thank you for being part of the group and everything. I mean, like, I really thought Tuesday night was a really cool one. So that made me feel like, yeah, we're going the right direction. So I really like the kind of, equipment and kind of aspect of it. I think that's really cool, like to actually have some thing about the tools rather than just producing. So cool. Big thanks, everybody. I will announce the next masterclass guest imminently, so keep it locked. Take care. Big thanks, everyone. Bye. Bye.